things that we've been through. Life is better with you.
Hey guys, this is Brian.
And I'm Allison.
And this is
Our Life in Front of the Bleachers.
So throughout our time in education, we get to come, in contact with all kinds and all walks of life. And many times when you change jobs, the change of scenery sometimes makes it difficult just to get acclimated to life. But when you find good people and good friends, it makes it so much easier. And when I was able to take a job up in Virginia, I was introduced to this young man, and we're very, very fortunate tonight to have Mr. Evan Hughes. And boy, Evan, this is take two. The first time we did it, we had such technology issues because I was in control, obviously, so things don't go well. But hopefully we fixed that this time. But we're very, very, very proud to have you on, and thanks for being here. We really do appreciate it.
Thrilled to be with you guys. I think about all the people that would love to be able to spend at least a half hour with the two of you. I get to do it twice in the last 7 days. I feel like I hit the lottery. Like, do I need to go get a scratch off ticket or something to commemorate this moment?
Maybe.
Well, speaking of commemorating, check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You got to be
your hokey stuff. You didn't even wear it this time. See, take two. You had it. Take one. You didn't have it.
You know what? Okay, I'll raise you this though. I had it ready. Hang on. This is going to be tough to see.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's reversed.
That's a scrawny guy there.
Look at. Can I zoom in on that? Yeah. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, now he's what, like 6'8"? I mean, what is he? He's a giant.
He's a big one.
So small. I can't believe that was middle school.
That was September 19th, 2014.
Tomato Bowl.
Tomato Bowl. Hey, and I remember that interview. We closed with, we're going to be eating tomatoes and eating spaghetti all week, baby. Something like that, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I know that was a fun venture. So we're going back a little bit so that people know. We'll talk more about what you do nowadays. But when I took that job up in Virginia, the principal said that she needed me to do a favor. She'd like for me to do an interview, and she thought it would help. And I know that you had reached out to me, and at the time, all I knew was it was some person in the community that was going to do the interview. So I was excited and obliged to do it. But man, I tell you what, when I did that interview, I swore I was talking to a 35-year-old man who was so seasoned and a veteran in everything that he was doing. She'll tell you.
It was. Tate and I were listening. I think Parker was at lacrosse practice, and Tate and I were listening in the car, and he was in his classroom. And so it was funny.
But
Because we were just introduced. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah, I just hired, and I know you can relive the moment a little bit better than I can, at least on your end, talking about what the thought process is or was at that point in time on what you were trying to accomplish.
That was first off, I feel like there's probably more rules, and maybe I'm wrong, in classrooms now about cell phone usage. There was that gray area where iPhones, kids were kind of having them, and I had it. And I remember getting a text from my mom in the early afternoon of I was in biology, and she's like, "You need to email Coach Davis right now." And I remember being, when you write out an email to someone and you read it over 3, 4, 5 times to make sure there's no typos. But see, I was nervous because I knew that you were Coach Brian Davis, but your name was Jonathan on the website, and I kept going back and forth I don't want to screw this up. What if I get his name wrong? I because first impressions are everything. We know this. But a little bit of backstory. When I got to high school, so this is my freshman year, I had done a little bit of broadcasting in middle school. I had my own radio show. I kind of knew that I wanted to do some form of broadcasting. And I say that because in December of 2013, it dawned on me. I was like, I want to do something for my high school. I did a couple games play-by-play, but it wasn't Patriot Talk Live. It dawned on me let's put all the time and energy and resources into doing something that's going to cover all of PH sports. And the first show we were ever going to do, I'll never forget the day, was February 3rd, 2014. And I lined up Rob Witham, who you remember, who covered Hanover County sports well. And the quarterback at the time was a guy named Tyler Phelps, who had just graduated. And I had a couple guests lined up. It was supposed to be a talk show. And I was doing it in my attic, and I had it all planned out. We promoted it for months. And I can now say, you guys know, living in Rockville, Virginia, the Wi-Fi crashed. The show never got off the air. It was a total disappointment. It was a flop. And I remember being so upset afterwards. And my mom was making this nice dinner to celebrate. I was just so bummed. She said, listen, she's like, when you put yourself out there, either good things can happen or bad things can. When you try and do something and put it into the universe, like just, you got to stay with it. And I bring all that up to say, to fast forward about a month later, we stayed with it, and you getting hired that time frame and you coming on doing the interview was one of the first like true successful moments for me in my broadcasting career. So to interview you a day after you were announced as the head football coach, not only did it turn into this unbelievable partnership, but a friendship and one of the most memorable moments and times in my life, let alone my career.
Well, it was, like I said, you were just so seasoned. When I heard you the first time, nobody told me that you were a freshman in high school. So
No, so we went up like a few weeks later.
yeah, after the interview, because you were just so fluid in your questioning, and the transition between things just were flawless. I was like, gee whiz, this guy's ridiculously good. And then we went up a couple of weeks later to be formally introduced to everybody. And I remember you were one of the first people that came up to me, and I was like, well,
You and your mom.
it's awesome to meet you. Where's your dad? Because I thought your dad was the one that had done it all.
We both, my mom and I, we sat in the back of well, I think it was the auditorium where like the first meeting was, right? You addressed the players and the parents, and here I am, right? Not as a player. I'm just genuinely eager to meet you and the family. And I remember as I'm standing in line to meet you guys at the end, there was a certain parent who offered, because you're coming back and forth, right? Middle of the school year, you're trying to get up there and get the ball rolling, offered for you to stay with them. And I distinctly remember in the back of my mind saying, he can stay with me. We're going to become friends. Like, like
Bunk beds.
he's not going to show favoritism by the player. I get that. But listen, the broadcaster wannabe, he can stay with us. I mean, so I
Well,
distinctly.
we all know your motive. You wanted to be a kicker. That's what it was.
I did. Come on. Like, listen, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I could have, I had dreams of maybe having AirPods in my, or no, there weren't AirPods in, but earbuds, calling the game on the field for a kickoff and then run. Anyways, but I remembered that so much. And I truly remember, and we'll talk about it, and I've said it, but I just remember feeling that because you were there, I mean, I can go on and on about what you mean to me and the entire Davis family. Because of you guys being there, it was going to change my life. And I felt that my freshman year of 2014, and my golly, is that true a decade later? And just forever grateful. Timing works out in a wonderful way.
So you went into that summer, or I guess in the spring, and I know he's like, this kid's going somewhere. I gotta help him. We've got to do something. And I remember him, he's like, I'm going up, he was driving back and forth, and he's like, we got to do something. I got to do something to get him going. And I remember him just being so excited because you guys were going to go around to get sponsorships and to find somewhere to do the radio show.
You remember those ventures?
I do. And what's funny, like, you get to that point when you're 14, 15 and it's over the summer, but you don't have your license and you live in, what feels like 2 hours away from the school. And I'm trying to, I'm like, Mom, Dad, like, I need you. Can you get me to PH? And can you drop me off in the middle of the day? Can we do this? And I mean, they were so excited. I was so excited. And we got dropped off, and we went around the town of Ashland, and the idea, I mean, you were so smart, Coach, like, let's do a radio show, a talk show. Let's get the community involved. Let's bring them out. And I mean, we went to I remember, I distinctly remember walking into that Randolph-Macon College bar in that little strip mall of Ashland. We walked in there, and I don't know if you remember, Coach, it's like dimly lit. I mean, there's like probably cigarette smoke in the background. You're doing and we met with the owner, and we were in and out in 5 minutes. We told him what we were going to do, and he's like, not the place for you. This is not the place. Do you remember?
He was honest. He was honest, though.
He was. And I think we even went to a couple restaurants, but we found, I mean, there wasn't a more perfect place than Brick Oven, because that side patio, we had our own spot to ourselves, and it didn't take over the whole restaurant. And it was the perfect place. And we grew, with your idea, a real community event over 3 years. I mean, it was
and you couldn't get a better meal.
No, it was so good.
Yeah. Well, when I took over there, the program was struggling a good bit, and then I knew that your program and your show would be a catalyst for change, and you would get hundreds, if not 1,000 listeners every week. And then you said, well, wait a minute, let's not just stop with a coach's show. You said, let's do live broadcasts of games. And that was an amazing part of it because people were listening to you as they were watching the games. That was a neat experience.
Well, and again, just going back to the perfect timing of when you were hired, it was really around that time that I went from, okay, I know I kind of want to do the sports broadcasting thing, but I called our high school in the state semifinal softball game play by play. And I just remember thinking to myself, Rob Witham was doing it. And I was like, play by play is cool. Like, this is what I really want to do. So the timing of you getting there, building community, and then we did one football game. But again, it wasn't PTL my freshman. I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to, and we went out that summer and, my dad made merch, which you've got on right now. We bought actual equipment. We had this duffel bag. Okay. And it's funny now because if there's one thing I've learned as a broadcaster, like when I got to Virginia Tech, it was like, listen, you don't get to get on air until you take great care of equipment. You know how to like put it, just keep it in perfect condition. We lugged this duffel bag around with PTL on the side. It was in our garage 6 nights a week, cords all tangled up. I mean, I think we kept it like the headsets in the boxes. They were flat. I mean, it was, looking back on, I'm cringing. But anyways, we went out and we invested because we were going to call every game. And then, he became the analyst and it was the Evan Kelly show. I mean, I think I'm learning as you get older, your friends, you get to call their parents sometimes their first name. Like if you meet them in college, like you kind of have that. But typically when you grow up with your childhood friends, it's, Mr. and Mrs. Davis or Mr. and Mrs. Hughes. My friends called my dad Kelly from the time we were 14, 15, because I can't call him dad on the air. Who does that? So it was the Evan and Kelly show. And I mean, and you go, so we just showed the picture of the Tomato Bowl, but that moment was a massive deal for not only you and the program to beat at the time Lee Davis, but we had this unbelievable broadcast. And if it weren't for Cade Harris and the interception of Chase Muma on the back of the end zone, Holy Toledo was born. And what a moment. I still use that on the air to this day. So that whole first year, coach, was just so fun getting to call every single game home and away. That was a big deal.
Well, I know it had to be difficult to be in that role, obviously with your father and everything, and trying to be very mild-tempered, but also enjoy the experience as a student. Because I remember that Freeman game at the end of the year, and they were highly ranked, and they were really a strong football team, and we weren't supposed to have any business being in the game with them. And we ended up getting down to the last second. They were lined up for a field goal from, I think, about the 10-yard line, 12-yard line. It was a close one. And then we had it blocked, and we ended up winning the game. And then I went back and listened to the broadcast after the game. And
he did it every Saturday morning, very early, would listen to it again. I'd hear you as I'm waking up.
yeah, you were my alarm clock, but there was an amazing silence at the end of that game. It was like the field goal lined up, and then there was no more broadcast from Evan. What happened that night?
Well, and I mean, the field goal block happens, and we were off air within 30 seconds. Because I mean, there was no, you don't know what happened except for just screaming. Like it was just like when it was blocked. I mean, I've had to learn this, like still to this day. I get very excited, and it's been like something that makes me, I think, is a big part of me, but also like I've got to learn how to control it. Like, and it's still to this day. And that was like the first time. I mean, this massive, unbelievable moment unfolds. We're at Freeman, and it's this open press box. And we're sitting on the far right end, and it's a clicky press box. Like all those people at Freeman, like I hope they watch this. I want them to know. Like I'm sure they're nice people, but they're clicky. They're not very friendly. They're all to themselves. They think they're great. Like they probably thought they were going to go 10-0 that year. And their PA announcer, like it's like he takes it personally that I'm there calling the game for PH. Like I don't have anything against Freeman. My dad went there, for crying out loud. Like, but it's a big game. And when we blocked, so back and forth this whole game. PH has a big moment, Freeman has a big moment. It's like, he'll be like, first down, Rebels, like looking at us, right? Like, and I'm getting fired up, like, touchdown, Patriots. Like, take that, loser. Like, I mean, seriously, I get competitive. Like, I'm like, man, like, I feel like you're attacking me and my coach and everybody, I'm not taking that. And again, for those that don't know, typically you have your own room, right? Typically the PA announcer and the clock operator, all that, you're in your own room. And so when we block this field goal, we stun them. I think fair to say the win of the year that year on the road. And my dad went to high school there, and we looked at them, they looked at us, and my dad kind of gives me the like, right? I mean, so we're just throwing the iPad, everything into this bag, and it's this big spiral staircase for this old school press, and we get down there, and all I wanted to do was just get in the end zone and celebrate this moment. And yeah, that was unbelievable. And then 2 weeks later, my dad gets a letter in the mail from Douglas S. Freeman High School, and he's thinking, man, they got us. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
And he's an alum, and he's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for playing soccer there. So we laugh about that, and we remember that game for so many. And I told you guys this last week, but I used to write for the local paper after every game, and there's this unbelievable picture of I think it's Bull Tice, and for some reason I think Cade Harris was the holder. I might be totally mistaken.
You're right.
And Cade is just picking up Logan after the game. And anyway, it's on the front page paper, and I still have that hanging in my childhood bedroom. So I think the final score, guys, was 23-21. So the field goal would have put them up for good by a point.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't remember all the exact detail. I just know we won, that was for sure. But yeah, you were just such an amazing part of that whole experience, because so many people tuned in, and you couldn't say PH football without including the Hughes family. You guys are just such good people, and you work so hard for everything there. And then, coming out of high school, you were really good friends with Parker, and you guys were looking at things that you guys wanted to do, but we all knew that you were going that route, and you just had to find a school that was going to do it. And then Virginia Tech started theirs, and you were a big Hokie fan to begin with, so it seemed like a perfect fit. And then you went there, and tell us about your experience. Were your nerves pretty high when you got started there? Were you real nervous about that whole venture?
It's funny you asked that, Coach. It was really hard. So freshman year, I get there, and I have an unbelievable mentor named Andrew Allegretta, who ran our internship program and really took me under his wing. He was really hard on me, and in a good way, because when I did broadcasting in high school, I never had coaching. And when you do it the way that I did, not that I got an ego or anything, but when you're told like you do a good job all the time, you think you're pretty good. And then you get there, and I found out pretty quickly I had a long ways to go. And I went from broadcasting whatever game I wanted, whenever I wanted to. He didn't put me on the air until March, essentially, of my freshman year. And I waited, and I had to do all the equipment, and I had to learn how to use my voice. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I tell them this all the time. I needed that. But so there were nerves. And I tell you what, the freshman year of the fall on Friday nights were really hard, because they tried to keep PTL going, and my dad tried to stay involved, and I had such FOMO. It wasn't the same because you had moved on, and it wasn't quite, but I bring that up. So I had such the best experience. Like, calling your games meant the world to me, and just to be walking around Blacksburg on a Friday night and not having anything to do was really hard. But it lit a fire under me to try and get as good as I could, as quickly as I could. It took time, but that was tough. And then I kind of found my groove doing some softball down the stretch, and it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, actually.
I know Parker and I, and Take Two, I believe, we were able to see you in Chapel Hill one year, and you were doing a baseball broadcast, and I think Parker texted you, or you're around and available, and you're like, I'm broadcasting now, come to the booth. And I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt him. And you're like, no, come on. And we rolled up in there. I've never seen somebody be able to multitask
He did.
and carry on a conversation with thousands of people at the same time while still trying to be nice and courteous to his guests in the booth. That was amazing what you did.
So fun. I had like a 60-second commercial break, and I remember like throwing my headset off, and I'm also worried about security stopping y'all. So I'm like trying to I'm at UNC, so I'm like, get in here. That was so cool. That was, to have someone like, and I wish you could have been there, Miss Davis, because it would have completed everything, but for you all who means so much to me to get to come and to see it years later and just know that you had like an integral part in me personally, professionally, believing in me when I wasn't any good, but I just had a passion for it. And you getting to see that in Chapel Hill, it meant the world to me. Like it's one thing to know that you're listening, that means a lot too, but to tangibly have you in the booth at a place that you love and UNC, and it was so cool. I like in between pictures, we're taking selfies. I mean, it was the best half inning of baseball of my life. It was so cool. I should have given you a headset. We should have just had Brian Davis. I mean, we could have. Think about the stories we could have told. That's what baseball's for. That would have been the sport to do it.
It might have leapfrogged me into a new career too. So look why didn't you make the suggestion? I could be rich like you now. I could absolutely be.
If I want to do over when we go back to Chapel Hill this year, I want to do over, and I'm gonna bring you up on there. We're gonna do it. Okay, mark my words.
You probably need to keep your job. Probably need to keep your job.
You got me to my job. Come on now. They're not going to turn that. Listen, I love doing baseball, but don't take it. When you do baseball 55 times a year, you get some blowouts in there. It's on you to keep it entertaining because the game's not the priority when it's 9-0 in the fourth. So I'm telling you, the people will enjoy it. What's that?
I said you can do that most definitely. I know that my family that watched, I know that my dad's friends in California were listening to you on Friday nights, and they absolutely loved you. My dad would call every Saturday morning and tell me how amazing you were.
I had my former principal from down North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
They came up just really so they could meet you. They really wanted to meet you because you were more of a celebrity than anybody else in Ashland.
I mean this wholeheartedly. I mean, in all seriousness, the run that I've had recently with women's hoops and getting to go to a Final Four, and then what I did in high school, I wish I would have understood in the moment how rare and special it was to have such a community of people and a coach like you. I mean, and the coaches I have now are amazing and they care too, but just there was something so special about getting to do it every Friday night. And I haven't really done football consistently since then. And it was so cool to get to for us to kind of come in when we did and be building our two things together was so special. And I mean, just so many big time moments, the Toledo Bowls, the playoff wins, the Briar Woods win. I mean, anyway, I wish I could go back in time. I wish we could relive some of those big moments again. Quatavius Blackwell dancing his way into the end zone, or I mean, just so many people that come flooding back when you think about that.
Well, you springboard there into Virginia Tech and did such a great job. And like you said, from the ground up, having to learn all the ins and outs and appreciating the work ethic that's involved in it. But you were able to win the Jim Nance Award. And that's the most prestigious award for college announcers. And I know you had to take great pride in that. I know you say that it's a Virginia Tech award, but you certainly put your mark on it too.
Well, I appreciate it. But it's more than a Tech award. It's a Rockville School Park Award. It's a PH in the Coach Davis Show Award. There are so many people, from so many people that if it weren't for, especially as a young age, for adults to believe in a kid with a microphone in front of people, there's risk that goes into that. And if it weren't for a wonderful community accepting and embracing it the way that especially when I was young, if I didn't have what I had in high school, that award would have never happened, because I felt like I had a little bit of an edge against people coming into high school because I had all these reps and I wasn't starting from square one. I had some familiarity with it, but there are so many people who went into winning. It was amazing. It was one of the coolest days of my life. I was so happy, but I hope that so many people feel fulfilled knowing that they had a hand, big or small, in that. And you guys had a massive.
Well, I know when we were watching it, we were just so proud of you when you won it.
Oh yeah, we had to go to the CBS Sports Network and be able to tune in for that one, and then that was such an amazing experience. Our house was about as loud as it's ever been here when you got that award, so we were so proud of you.
I don't know about that. I'm sure when you guys are going back watching film of all the touchdowns from the Scorpions, that's when it gets loud. I mean, celebrate. Come on. Don't. It's
By the
off.
way, we still have an opening for Scorpion Talk Live, so we got
Scorpion Talk Live. I mean, I want to get down there. I want to do a Facebook Live interview of the two of us. I have this vision in my head, like we used to on Periscope. I'll call it. I want to call, touch. By the way, I mean, no offense to the Patriots, but touchdown Scorpions. You know how cool that is? Like the
stings
different.
a little bit more, doesn't it? It's a bigger sting.
That is, I mean, come on. I love to have some fun with some cliches on it. We could have some fun with the Scorpions name on there. No doubt about it.
No, there's no doubt about it. That's for sure. But, we just had so much fun. And I just remember those moments, after wins, after losses. It was just an educational moment for our community. It was a way to really appreciate some of the kids too and showcase some of them that maybe wouldn't have gotten that notoriety otherwise. But you just did so much for the community, and we're just so proud of you. But you come from good stock.
You
I know
do.
that.
And your mom, she's done a great job with her group that she had when you guys were little, and then finally went back to it again when you were in college. So
Tell us a little bit about
tell
Comfort
us
Zone.
about Comfort Zone.
Yeah, no, it's thank you. Yeah, it's super special. Comfort Zone Camp, one of the nation's largest bereavement camps for kids ages 7 to 17 who have lost a mom, dad, brother, sister, primary caregiver, or friend, offering free weekends, Friday through Sunday, all across the United States, based in Richmond, Jersey, North Carolina, Massachusetts, California, Florida, all over the place. And these kids, a lot of them have never met other kids their age that have dealt with a loss before. And when you get 60 of them there this weekend doing endless fun summer camp type stuff mixed in with grief support group, it's a powerful thing. Again, free of charge, 25 years, almost 25,000 children served. And it's weird. You wouldn't think a broadcaster, their roots go back to a grief camp. And in a lot of ways, growing up around that silliness really helped. And combine that with stuff like PTL and people like yourself, I feel like that's where I am today if it weren't for it all. So it's a unique blending of a lot of different experiences that have helped shape me into who I am today. So I'm grateful for both of them.
We love the Hughes family and what they've done for
Love you
so many
guys.
people. Yeah. Well, what kind of words of advice would you give to young people who might want to pursue something that like what you do there at Virginia Tech?
I think the biggest thing, well, two things, and they're both equally as important. Number one, if there's one thing that I've learned, two things I've done in my life. I mean, obviously the broadcasting side, and you might remember this when I used to coach rec softball when I was in high school. I loved it, and there were two things. Like I did two things as a teenager that not a lot of teenagers did, and I think a lot of people might be like, "Why are you doing that? Why aren't you just doing normal teenager stuff and things?" And I say that to say, like, don't let someone tell you you're too young to do something. There's always a way. If you work hard, you want to do something, go for it. And if you're passionate about it, people will support you and lift you up. And then the other one is, there's never been an easier time to get into broadcasting than now with the Spreakers and the Blog Talk Radios of the world, the Zooms, YouTube channel, whatever it is. It's not hard to go out and buy, $200 worth of equipment and broadcast. And just like a player, you're not going to get good reading how to do play-by-play in a textbook. You got to actually get out there and do it over and over and over again. So the more you can do that, do it. Sadly, there's a lot of booths open in college games, high school games. Go up there with your earbuds and call it into your phone. Don't worry about who's listening or how many listeners there are. Just focus on yourself. And if you can have fun doing it and put your heart into it and take good care of people, that's 75% of the battle right there in my book.
Wow. You certainly have kept a great spirit over the years, and I'm sure your early moments were full of mistakes, but I didn't hear very many of them as a high schooler because you were as seasoned of a veteran that I would have ever heard, especially at your age. So it's an amazing thing to what you've been able to accomplish and your gifts. I'm glad you're sharing them still with everybody.
Well, I so appreciate. Thank you for giving me the chances, the both of you, to allow me to have the best 4 years I could have possibly had in high school. And some of them, seriously, it's funny. You meet people that are like, high school. Who liked high school? I'm like, are you kidding me? My high school experience rocked. I loved high school. I didn't peak in high school. I'm not saying that, but I had the best high school experience I could have because of people like yourselves at the very top of that. And I just so appreciate from so many things. I'm sure there were questions or moments or even God going back and listening to some highlights. I'm like, Evan, you sucked, man. But you all supported me and made me feel and that Matt and on a 10,000 foot perspective, to have people like that in your corner that believe in you, like I don't think you can overstate the price of belief in people, and especially when you're young. And I'm so grateful that a head football coach, his amazing wife, all the things that you guys have to do. There's a reason why you guys are starting a podcast now, because you've got all these stories, all these responsibilities. The fact that you would make room in your heart for me as a broadcaster, another thing on the box, when you could go home after a long day of practice at school and do a radio show and all this stuff. I cannot be more grateful to the two of you. And I am just so appreciative of you both, and Parker and Tate. And this is just so cool getting to be on your podcast. I mean, this is really special for me.
Well, it's special for us too, buddy,
Yeah.
because we sure do miss you, and we do appreciate all those moments, and we have great recollections of all those times and getting to hear your broadcast, the Holy Toledos and everything else in between. So it sure was fun. And again, when you're ready to roll down to the beach, come on down. We got a job for
Come
you.
on down.
I'm ready, and I know you guys have your before we go though. Can we close this episode, or can I do it of how we close the Coach Davis show? Is that possible?
You bring it.
Can you hit me with a little what goes on around here? I'll take it.
I'm saying that, which I forget now. Am I prompting that? And you're
Well,
going to say the
I
answer?
can say
You
it. You
got
can
the
say,
answer?
should I say the first line, or do you want to say the first line?
I don't recall the order, honestly. I guess I'm the one to ask because I always ask the question. So I'm gonna ask you, hey, Evan Hughes, what goes on around here?
Pride, pride, pride. Work, work, work. Win, win, win.
In that order, baby. Have pride in what you have, work for what you want, you win what you deserve. So we're proud of you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. We really are appreciative. So
Thank you guys. Love you guys. Go Scorpions.
yeah, go Hokies. Take care.